And we here tend to ask the question, well, why? Why is there such a general, unquestioned assumption that there is a God? Well, loved ones, honestly, it takes dumb, stupid sophisticates like ourselves to ever question it. It really does. It takes you to be educated to reject the idea that there's a God. It really does. If you just let your mind run in the way it normally does in everyday life and follow through the normal cause and effect thinking that the mind operates on in daily life, you're bound to come to the conclusion that there's a God. You go outside. I hope those of you who have heard this before will laugh at it again. You go outside your room door, or outside your house, and there at the sidewalk, a solid gold Cadillac. Or, for those of us who don't like that, a 650 Honda. You go outside in the morning and you see those there. Now you know what your mind asks. It asks, what explosion put this here? It just doesn't, you know. It just doesn't ask what Big Bang Theory is responsible for this. It doesn't. It immediately asks, who put this here? Because all of us know that explosions destroy and they don't create. And they certainly don't create machinery like a Cadillac or like a Honda. Or do you go out and you look at them and you say, aha, obviously it came about through spontaneous generation from some decomposing substance. And so you look for the decomposing substance. Well, you know, you don't. You don't. Your mind just does not ask those questions. It has to be taught to ask those questions. It actually has to be perverted to ask those questions. Your mind automatically says, who left the Honda here, who left the Cadillac? Or, as Clouseau would say, you know, do you try the other old ploy? Ah, yes. The Cadillac evolved from a Volkswagen, and the Honda evolved from a 10-speed Schwinn bicycle. Well, you don't. You don't. Because you're still left with the problem of who put the bicycle there or who put the Volkswagen there. And actually, the mind knows that even if there is some evolution, and there is obviously some kind of evolution within the species at least, even if there is some evolution, even if there was ever an explosion, even if there was ever spontaneous generation, somebody had to originally create the thing from which these things evolved. If there was an explosion, who made what exploded? Somebody must have created something originally. If there was a decomposing substance, who created the substance that decomposed? Who created the stuff that exploded? Who created the original single-cell amoeba that eventually evolved? In other words, those so-called answers are not an explanation of creation at all. And normally when one sees a world like this, or one sees a mountain, one responds the same way as Einstein does. Same way as the most primitive person in the whole universe would respond. One says, who put the mountain there? Who put the world here? Maybe you say, well, why do you ask who? Why do you ask who put the world here? I can see that something must have started it all somewhere. But why do we say it's a him and not an it? Well, loved ones, the same way as we draw other conclusions from everyday life. We look at what is here and we work back to the kind of force or being that would have had to create it. So you go out of your room door into the corridor, in the dormitory, and you see a bone lying on the floor. You just do not say, that cannibal girl down the corridor, or that savage counselor has been chewing up freshmen again. You don't. You don't. You see a bone, looks gnawed, you know what normally produces gnawed bones, there's a dog somewhere. That dog is out again. Or if you work it the other way, you go outside your door and you find a piece of paper with a simultaneous equation on one side and Paradise Lost, part of Paradise Lost written on the other. You just do not say, oh, that stupid dog has lost his assignment again. However clever the dog is, you know that a dog cannot produce Paradise Lost. A dog cannot produce simultaneous equations. And that's why we say who. Can you imagine a chair making you? Can you imagine even an animate object like a dog making you? We can't. We automatically say no. Whatever made us, whether he made us in one moment or whether he made us over a period of time, he must have been capable of putting these powers of development within us. So he must be as personable at least as we are. That's why we ask who, you see. Because the being that created us must be at least as personal as we ourselves are.